There is a silent crisis happening every single day in the lives of millions of well-intentioned, hard-working people. It's the crisis of the vanished day. It's the experience of starting your morning with a clear goal, only to be swept away by a tidal wave of distractions, emails, and urgent but unimportant tasks. And by the end of the day, you collapse, exhausted, looking back at the last 12 hours and realizing you haven't moved an inch closer to what truly matters. Let me tell you something profound. The problem is not a lack of effort. It's a lack of architecture. Your life, your career, your legacy. They are not built by random acts of effort. They are constructed piece by piece according to a specific plan. Without that plan, your energy is scattered. Your time is wasted. Your potential remains locked away. But what if you had the blueprint? What if you understood the fundamental principles of construction that allow you to turn each day, no matter how chaotic, into a productive building block for your future? That is our purpose today, to hand you that blueprint, to show you how to become the architect of your own achievement. Forget everything you think you know about hustle and grind. It's time to learn how to build. Good morning. I want to begin our time together today by inviting you into a story. It's a simple story, one you may have heard in variations before, but I want you to listen with new ears. I want you to truly consider its profound implications on the design of your own life. Imagine, if you will, two individuals. We'll give them identical sailboats. Not similar sailboats, but identical in every respect. The same length, the same weight, the same quality of sailcloth, the same sturdy mast. We place these two individuals at the same starting point, on the coast, on the very same morning. As they set out onto the vast open ocean, the exact same wind begins to blow. It's a powerful, steady wind filled with promise and challenge. The same sun shines down upon them, warming their faces. The same unpredictable currents of the sea pull and tug at their hulls. Every external circumstance, every variable of nature is precisely the same for both. They spend the entire day upon the water. As dusk begins to settle, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, we look out to the horizon to see where their journey has taken them. The first sailor has arrived at a destination of incredible beauty and prosperity. A safe harbor, a thriving port, a place of wealth and opportunity. Their journey was a success. They have arrived exactly where they intended to go. But the second sailor, we find them miles away, shipwrecked upon a desolate, rocky shore. Their sail is torn, their hull is breached, and their journey has ended in failure and disappointment. Now here is the question upon which the entire architecture of your life depends. What made the difference? Think about it. It wasn't the boat. The boats were identical. It wasn't the sun or the sea. They were the same for both. And it certainly wasn't the wind. The wind of circumstance blew upon them both equally. The difference, ladies and gentlemen, was the one variable that each sailor had complete control over. The difference was the set of the sail. One sailor knew how to catch the wind, how to angle his sail, to harness its power, and to direct his vessel with purpose toward a predetermined destination. The other sailor, perhaps, let the sail flap aimlessly. Perhaps he set it incorrectly, fighting against the wind instead of working with it. Or perhaps, worst of all, he simply didn't have a destination in mind at all and was merely pushed and tossed about by the forces he did not understand. This story is the perfect, unflinching metaphor for human life. We are all sailors on the great ocean of time, and every day the winds of circumstance blow upon us. The winds of the economy, sometimes they are favorable, sometimes they are harsh. The winds of relationships, bringing joy one day and heartbreak the next. The winds of health, of opportunity, of disappointment, of technological change, of political unrest. These winds blow on us all. The rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated, the optimistic and the pessimistic. The great mistake in life is to spend your time complaining about the wind, to wish for a different wind, to hope the wind will change. The philosopher, the achiever, the architect of a great life understands a more powerful truth. You cannot change the direction of the wind, but you can, at any moment, change the set of your sail. And what is this sail? What is this incredible mechanism that determines our ultimate destination in life? Jot this phrase down, for it is the foundation of everything we will discuss today. The set of the sail is your personal philosophy. That is what separates success from failure, progress from stagnation, and fulfillment from regret. It isn't luck, it isn't background, it isn't where you start. It is the philosophy you choose to adopt and refine every single day of your life. It is the internal compass and rudder system that guides your every decision and every action. Now, when I use the word philosophy, some people get a little nervous. They picture dusty books and old men with long beards talking about abstract concepts that have no bearing on the real world. That is not what I'm talking about. Your personal philosophy is far more practical. It is, quite simply, your personal operating system. It's the collection of everything you hold to be true. It's the sum of your beliefs and values that dictate your attitude, your choices, and ultimately your results. It is the framework you use to process the information life throws at you. Let me give you an example. An opportunity arises. The wind of opportunity blows. One person's philosophy says, be cautious. It's probably too good to be true. Most new things fail. It's safer to do nothing. So they let the opportunity pass by. Another person's philosophy says, opportunity is rare. I must investigate it. Even if I fail, I will learn something valuable. The risk of regret is greater than the risk of failure. So they take action. Same wind, different philosophies, different outcomes. A setback occurs. The wind of disappointment blows. One person's philosophy says, this is proof that I can't succeed. The world is against me. It's time to give up. And so they do. Another person's philosophy says, this is a test. This is feedback. Within this setback is a lesson that will make me stronger and wiser for the next attempt. And so they learn and they continue. Same wind, different philosophies, different destinations. You see, your philosophy is working every minute of every day, whether you are aware of it or not. The question is not if you have a philosophy. The question is your philosophy serving you? Is it taking you where you want to go? Or is it an anchor, disguised as a sail, holding you back while you mistakenly blame the wind? This leads us to a critical distinction: the default philosophy versus the design philosophy. Most people do not consciously design their philosophy. Instead, they acquire one by default. They absorb it from their environment like a sponge. They inherit the beliefs of their parents. They adopt the opinions of their social circle. They soak in the attitudes promoted by the media they consume. They go through life with a set of hand-me-down beliefs, never once stopping to ask, are these beliefs actually true? Are these values actually mine? Is this way of thinking producing the results I want in my life? The default philosophy is often built on a foundation of excuses. It's the philosophy that whispers, I don't have time, when what it really means is, it's not a priority. It's the philosophy that says, it's too hard, when what it really means is, I'm not willing to be disciplined. It's the philosophy that says, I'll start tomorrow, a tomorrow that for many never arrives. It relies on bursts of temporary motivation. And when that motivation fades, as it always does, all progress comes to a halt. This is the very essence of stagnation. It is the person who works hard, who stays busy day after day, yet looks back after a year and finds themselves in the exact same place. Their sail is set in a way that leads them in circles. They are active, but they are not making progress. Their effort is being nullified by a flawed design. The alternative, the path of the achiever, is to become a conscious architect. It is to make the decision to design your own philosophy. This is the beginning of all meaningful change. It is the moment you stop being a passive passenger and take the helm of your own life. Designing your philosophy means you become a careful collector of ideas and a ruthless editor of your own beliefs. Imagine your mind as a grand library. Every day you are adding books to it. An article you read, a conversation you have, a video you watch, an experience you go through. Each one is a book placed upon the shelves of your mind. The person with a default philosophy lets anyone and everyone place books in their library. Gossip, negativity, fear-mongering, limiting beliefs. The shelves become cluttered with useless and poisonous information. And when it's time to make a decision, they pull a random, dusty book off the shelf and wonder why their life isn't working. The person who designs their philosophy becomes the head librarian of their own mind. They are incredibly selective about what books they allow in. They actively seek out wisdom, knowledge, and perspectives that strengthen them. They study the lives of successful people. They read books that have stood the test of time. They engage in conversations that elevate them. They are building a library of immense value, and from this library, they can pull the wisdom needed to set their sail correctly in any wind. This is why the unending pursuit of knowledge isn't a hobby. It is a fundamental requirement for a well-designed life. Once you begin this process of conscious design, something remarkable happens. You begin to see the world not as a series of random events, but as a system of cause and effect, of effort and reward. You begin to understand that life operates much like the changing seasons. Your philosophy is what allows you to navigate these seasons effectively. When the harsh winter of life arrives, and it arrives for everyone, a well-designed philosophy provides perspective. It reminds you that winter is not a permanent condition, but a season for strengthening your roots, for study, for planning. The default philosophy panics in the winter. The design philosophy prepares. When the spring of opportunity comes, your philosophy allows you to recognize it and act with urgency. You understand that spring is the time for intense, disciplined labor, for planting the seeds of effort that will lead to a future harvest. The default philosophy hesitates in the spring, waiting for perfect conditions. The design philosophy acts, knowing that perfect conditions never arrive. Through the long summer of growth, your philosophy provides the resilience and patience to protect your budding enterprises from the weeds of doubt and the pests of distraction. You understand that growth requires daily nurturing and protection. The default philosophy gets distracted in the summer, chasing new shiny objects. The design philosophy remains focused, tending to what has been planted. And finally, in the autumn, you reap your harvest. And here is a truth you must accept. You must take full personal responsibility for your harvest. Your philosophy determines your actions in the spring and summer, and your actions determine your rewards in the autumn. It is a direct and unbreakable chain. So you see, your philosophy is not an abstract concept. It is the single most practical and powerful tool you possess. It determines how you interpret the world, how you respond to its challenges, what you value, and where you focus your energy. It is the blueprint you use to construct your days. And your days are the building blocks that construct your life. The purpose of our time together today is to hand you the tools of the architect. We are going to move beyond the why and into the how. We will explore how to find the quality materials for your philosophy through lifelong learning. We will discuss the non-negotiable role of the workforce, the power of unshakable discipline. We will lay out the strategies for navigating the inevitable seasons and challenges life will present. But it all begins here. It begins with this one simple, life-altering decision: to stop drifting and to start designing, to stop complaining about the wind and to start mastering the set of your sail, to accept the profound and empowering responsibility that you, and you alone, are the architect of your own achievement. The journey ahead is not about finding secrets or shortcuts. It is about embracing the fundamentals, the timeless principles of progress that have guided achievers for centuries. It's about the quiet, daily, and heroic work of building a life of substance, one brick, one day, one disciplined choice at a time. If you are ready to begin that work, if you are ready to become the architect, then let us begin. In our last discussion, we came to a powerful and sobering conclusion. We established that you are, without question, the chief architect of your own life. We discovered that it is not the blowing of the wind of circumstance that determines your destination, but the set of your sail, your personal philosophy. This realization is the beginning of all personal revolution. It is the moment you reclaim your power from the random forces of the world and place it squarely back into your own hands. So, having accepted this profound responsibility, the first and most important question an architect must ask is this: where do I get my materials? A grand blueprint, a majestic design for a life of achievement is worthless if it is drawn on flimsy paper with fading ink. A philosophy cannot be built from thin air. It must be constructed from substance, from truth, from wisdom. The quality of your philosophy will be a direct reflection of the quality of the raw materials you choose to build it with. We spoke of the mind as a grand library. Your philosophy is the central thesis of that library. It is the core collection around which all other knowledge is organized. The great tragedy of modern life is that most people are careless curators. They allow their mental libraries to be filled with junk. The fleeting opinions of the day, the negativity of the news cycle, the limiting beliefs of their peers. They then try to build a life of prosperity and happiness using shoddy, rotten materials, and are perpetually mystified by the weakness of their own construction. Today we put an end to that. Today we begin the conscious, deliberate, and lifelong process of sourcing the finest materials the world has to offer. We begin the unending pursuit of knowledge. This isn't about becoming a trivia champion. This is about the strategic acquisition of wisdom that you can use to set your sail, to navigate the seasons, and to build an architecture of achievement that will stand the test of time. This pursuit stands on 4 foundational pillars. The first is understanding the critical distinction between making a living and designing a life. There's a key phrase I want you to burn into your mind. It is this: formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. Now, this is not an indictment of formal education. It has its place. It provides a valuable service. It teaches you the skills to be a participant in the modern economy. It teaches you how to be a good employee, a competent technician, a functioning part of the larger machine. It will indeed help you make a living, but it is by its very design limited. Formal education teaches you how to work the soil. Self-education teaches you why the soil works, how the seasons change, when to plant, when to harvest, how the market functions, and how to eventually own the entire farm. Do you see the difference? One is about function, the other is about ownership. One is about maintenance, the other is about mastery. The great error is to believe that your learning is complete when you receive your diploma. In truth, that is merely the end of the tutorial. The real game of life begins the day after you graduate. From that day forward, your growth is entirely your own responsibility. There are no more required courses. There are no more assigned readings. There is no teacher standing over your shoulder, forcing you to learn. There is only you, your curiosity, and your decision. The decision to remain intellectually stagnant, or the decision to engage in a curriculum of your own design, a curriculum for success, happiness, and wealth. Self-education is a choice, and it is a choice the successful make every single day. They understand that their level of success will rarely, if ever, exceed their level of personal development. If you want to have more, you simply have to become more. And how do you become more? This leads us to the second pillar, which is perhaps the most accessible and powerful tool for self-education ever invented: the power of the page. You must become a dedicated, voracious reader. I want you to think about what a book truly is. A book is a miracle. It is the opportunity to sit down for a few hours and have a one-on-one conversation with one of the greatest minds that has ever lived on this planet. For a handful of dollars, you can learn in a single evening what took someone else an entire lifetime of struggle, failure, and triumph to figure out. You can learn from the mistakes of Napoleon so you don't have to repeat them. You can learn the financial principles of the Rockefellers. You can learn the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, who governed one of the greatest empires in history. Their knowledge, their perspective, their life's work, it is all sitting there patiently waiting for you on a shelf. To neglect this resource is an act of profound arrogance. It is to say, I don't need the wisdom of the ages. I will figure it all out on my own, through my own painful, slow, and expensive process of trial and error. The achiever, the architect, thinks differently. They think, why would I start from scratch when I can stand on the shoulders of giants? They build a personal library. They treat books not as a luxury, but as a necessity. And what should you read? Everything. Have a balanced mental diet. Read books on your career, certainly, to hone your skills, but do not stop there. Read biographies to understand the texture of a successful life. Read history to understand the great cycles of human behavior. Read books on economics, on human psychology, on health, on relationships. Read philosophy to challenge your own thinking. The person who reads broadly is painting with a full palette of colors. The person who only reads about their own narrow field is painting in shades of gray. And I can already hear the most common excuse in the world: but I don't have time to read. My response is simple. You don't have time not to read. How much time do you have for costly mistakes? How much time do you have for missed opportunities? How much time do you have to spend years learning a lesson that was waiting for you in a $20 book? The cost of not reading is infinitely higher than the cost of a book in a few hours of your time. Turn off the television, put down the phone, trade 1 hour of passive entertainment for 1 hour of active learning. That simple trade, compounded over a year, then 5 years, will create a gap in knowledge and wisdom between you and your peers that is so vast it will seem like an unfair advantage. It is not unfair, it is earned. But acquiring knowledge is not limited to the written word. This brings us to our third pillar. You must master the art of active listening and the science of capturing ideas. Some of the most valuable lessons you will ever learn will come from the people you interact with every day. The question is, are you truly listening? Most people don't listen, they just wait for their turn to talk. Their minds are busy formulating their own response, their own story, their own opinion. The wise person listens with intent. They listen not just to the words, but to the meaning behind the words. They approach every conversation with a humble curiosity, operating under the assumption that every single person they meet knows something that they don't. They ask good questions. They are genuinely interested in other people's perspectives and experiences. They are mining for gold. But here is the key that separates the amateur from the professional student of life. When you hear a good idea, a nugget of gold, you must capture it. An idea is a fleeting, ethereal thing. It is like a beautiful butterfly that lands on your shoulder. If you just admire it and do nothing, it will fly away in a moment, gone forever. You must have a net. Your journal, your notebook, is that net. I cannot overstate the importance of this. Do not go through your day empty-handed. Always have a place to capture ideas. An idea you hear in a conversation. A thought that strikes you in the middle of the night. A quote you read that resonates with you. Write it down. A journal is not a diary for your feelings. It is a treasury. It is a workshop. It is the place where you take the raw materials you gather from reading and listening, and you begin to process them. You connect ideas. You ask questions of them. You wrestle with them. Over time, this journal becomes one of the most valuable books in your entire library because it is the one you are writing yourself. It is the documented story of your own intellectual and philosophical development. An uncaptured idea is a lost asset. The simple habit of carrying a notebook can and will change your life. This leads us to the fourth and final pillar, the one that ties it all together. You can read all the books and listen to all the experts, but the ultimate classroom is life itself. You must learn to learn from your own experience. Most people simply go through their days. The achiever grows through their days. And the mechanism for this is simple. Reflection. At the end of each day, or the end of each week, take a few minutes to pull the curtain and review the performance. Ask yourself a few simple but powerful questions. What did I do this week that worked? What were my victories? How can I repeat them? And then, the tougher question. Where did I fall short? What were my mistakes? What did this experience come to teach me? Do not let an experience pass by without extracting its lesson. Failure is only failure if you don't learn from it. If you learn from it, it becomes an education. It becomes tuition paid for the wisdom you just acquired. The person who does not reflect is doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again, all the while blaming their luck or their circumstances. The person who reflects turns every setback into a stepping stone. They are constantly refining their approach, adjusting their sail based on the real-world feedback they are receiving. So, here we have it. The four pillars of this unending pursuit. You learn the difference between making a living and making a fortune. You build your library by becoming a dedicated reader. You mine for gold by listening intently and capturing ideas. And you distill it all into wisdom by reflecting on your own experience. This is how you gather the raw materials for a powerful, well-designed philosophy. Your mental library begins to grow, filled with the highest quality timber and the strongest stone. You now have the resources. But here we arrive at the final, crucial point. Raw materials, no matter how exquisite, do not assemble themselves into a mansion. A library full of priceless books that you never open is just expensive wallpaper. A journal full of brilliant ideas that you never act upon is just a collection of ink on paper. Knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. You can have the most brilliant architectural blueprint in the world, but without a workforce, without an engine to translate that blueprint into a physical structure, nothing will ever be built. You will be left with a beautiful dream and a vacant lot of reality. To turn this priceless knowledge into a tangible architecture of achievement, you need that workforce. You need that engine. You need the one quality that ignites all the knowledge you've so carefully gathered and transforms it into directed, effective, world-changing action. That engine, ladies and gentlemen, is the subject of our next discussion. That engine is the unshakable power of discipline. In our last discussion, we established the first great pillar of a well-designed life, the unending pursuit of knowledge. We spoke of becoming a curator of your own mental library, carefully sourcing the finest raw materials, the wisdom, the ideas, the perspectives that will form the blueprint of your personal philosophy. We ended with a crucial realization: raw materials, no matter how priceless, do not assemble themselves. A library full of unread books is mere decoration. A journal filled with brilliant ideas never acted upon is simply a collection of dormant possibilities. Knowledge gathered but not applied is a weight, not a wing. You can have the most magnificent architectural blueprint ever drawn. You can have stacks of the finest marble and the strongest timber. But without a workforce, without an engine to translate the design into a structure, all you have is a vacant lot filled with potential. A beautiful dream that will never shelter you from the rain. Today, we talk about the engine. We talk about the workforce. We talk about the one force that takes the ethereal world of ideas and forges it into the solid reality of results. This force, ladies and gentlemen, is the unshakable power of discipline. Discipline is the bridge that connects your noble intentions to your tangible achievements. It is the conduit through which knowledge becomes skill, effort becomes equity, and philosophy becomes a way of life. Without it, the most brilliant philosophy in the world is nothing more than a conversation piece. With it, even a simple plan, executed consistently, can build an empire. Now, let's dissect this powerful word. For many, the word discipline carries a negative connotation. It sounds like punishment, like restriction, like a life devoid of joy and spontaneity. This is a profound misunderstanding. Discipline is not a prison. It is a key. It is the key that unlocks your own potential. Discipline, in its purest form, is the ultimate act of self-love. It is the ability to make a conscious choice between what you want now and what you want most. Think about that. The allure of the now is incredibly powerful. What you want now is comfort, ease, distraction, the extra hour of sleep, the sugary snack, the mindless entertainment, the path of least resistance. These things offer a small, immediate payoff. But what you want most, that is something different. What you want most is freedom, strength, pride, health, prosperity, a sense of accomplishment, the life you see in your mind's eye. These things are on the other side of a mountain of small, correct choices. Discipline is simply the muscle you use to consistently choose the long-term reward over the short-term pleasure. It is the highest form of respect you can pay to your future self. So many people live their lives waiting for the lightning strike of motivation. They believe that to take action, they must first feel like taking action. And so they wait and wait. Motivation is a wonderful visitor, but it is a terrible master. It is an emotion, and like all emotions, it is fickle. It comes and it goes with the weather, with your mood, with how much sleep you got last night. You cannot build a life of substance on such a foundation. Relying on motivation is like trying to power a city with a lightning rod. You will have brilliant, powerful flashes of energy, followed by long periods of darkness. Discipline, on the other hand, is the power plant you build yourself, brick by brick. It is not spectacular. It does not flash and thunder. It simply provides steady, reliable, immense power, day in and day out, whether you feel like it or not. It is the quiet hum of progress in the background of your life. And it is this steady hum, not the occasional lightning strike, that illuminates the world. So how do we build this power plant? How do we cultivate this engine? We can find the entire blueprint in the philosophy of one of the earth's most successful creatures, the ant. The ant philosophy, when you truly dissect it, is a masterclass in the application of discipline. It contains 4 pillars. The first pillar of the ant philosophy is this: ants never quit. Have you ever watched an ant? If it is heading somewhere and you place an obstacle in its path, it does not surrender. It does not hold a committee meeting. It does not complain about the unfairness of the obstacle. It immediately begins to probe for a new path. It will try to go over it. It will try to go under it. It will try to go around it. It will search and search and search until it finds a way. It has a relentless, unwavering commitment to its destination. What a profound lesson in the discipline of persistence. How many times have we, with all our intelligence and resources, given up at the first sign of an obstacle, an unexpected bill, a difficult conversation, a project that doesn't work out on the first try? We see the obstacle as a stop sign. The ant sees it as a navigation problem. This is the discipline of tackling the tough stuff. The things you don't want to do, the obstacles in your path, are often the very things that will make the biggest difference. The disciplined mind understands that the river carves the canyon not through its explosive force, but through its constant, gentle, unwavering pressure. Persistence is that pressure. Every day you show up, every day you face the obstacle, instead of avoiding it, you are applying that pressure. And eventually, a path will be carved. The second pillar of the ant philosophy: ants think winter all summer. This is the discipline of preparation and foresight. In the midst of abundance, the ant prepares for scarcity. When the sun is shining and the food is plentiful, the ant is diligently, consistently storing resources for the difficult days it knows are coming. It operates on a fundamental truth of nature: the seasons always change. The undisciplined mind lives only for today. In the summer of a booming economy, it spends everything saving nothing. In the summer of good health, it indulges in bad habits, taking its vitality for granted. In the summer of a good relationship, it stops putting in the effort, assuming it will last forever. The disciplined mind understands that the work done in the easy times is what ensures survival in the hard times. This is the discipline of doing what is necessary, not just what is urgent. It is saving the extra 10%. It is the workout on the day you feel fine. It is the extra course you take to learn a new skill before your current one becomes obsolete. The disciplined person is always planting trees under whose shade they do not expect to sit immediately. They are building the ark before it starts to rain. The third pillar is the mirror image of the second, and it is just as crucial. Ants think summer all winter. This is the discipline of faith and optimism. During the cold, dark, barren days of winter, when there is nothing to be found outside, the ant does not despair. It huddles together with its community, lives off the resources it so wisely stored, and holds on to the knowledge that this too shall pass. The ant remembers the sun. It has faith that spring will come again. And on the very first day that the frost thaws, they are out there ready to work. This is one of an architect's most essential mental tools. In the inevitable winters of your own life, the business failure, the personal loss, the period of doubt and struggle, it is easy to believe that winter is a permanent condition. It is easy to become cynical and to lose faith in the blueprint. The disciplined mind refuses to surrender its vision to its current circumstances. It is the discipline to keep reviewing your goals when there is no evidence of progress. It is the discipline to trust the process. It is the faith that if you continue to do the right things day after day, spring will eventually arrive, and you must be ready for it when it does. And this brings us to the fourth and final pillar of the ant philosophy, and it is a question: how much will an ant gather during the summer for the winter? The answer is profound in its simplicity: all that it possibly can. Not just enough to get by, not the bare minimum, not what the other ants are doing, all that it possibly can. This is the discipline of excellence. It is the commitment to reaching for your full potential. The disciplined person understands that every task, every action is an opportunity to sign your name to your work. They ask themselves, is this my best? They are not in competition with anyone else. They are in competition with who they were yesterday. This is the discipline of pushing past good enough to find great. It is the extra phone call, the extra revision of the report, the extra mile on the run. It is the understanding that the habit of excellence is built in these small, seemingly insignificant moments of extra effort. So here we have it, the 4 disciplines of the ant: persistence, preparation, a positive vision, and the pursuit of your potential. Now, I want to leave you with one final critical idea about discipline. We must all suffer from one of 2 pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is the pain of the daily effort. It's the discomfort of waking up early. It's the strain of the workout. It's the sacrifice of saying no to a distraction. It is immediate and it is sharp, but it is also temporary. The pain of regret, however, is a different animal. It is the pain of looking back on your life 5, 10, 20 years from now and asking, what if? What if I had started then? What if I had made the calls? What if I had read the books? Who could I have become? This pain is not sharp and temporary. It is a dull, constant, lifelong ache. Here is the secret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Every single day, you are presented with that choice. Which pain will you choose today? The ounce or the ton? Discipline is not a grand, singular act. It is the sum of thousands of small, correct choices, compounded over time. It is the domino effect. The discipline to wake up on time leads to the discipline to exercise. The discipline to exercise leads to the discipline to eat well. The discipline to eat well gives you the clarity and energy to be disciplined at your work. Each correct choice makes the next one easier. They build a momentum that over time becomes an unstoppable force. This is the engine. This is the workforce that takes the blueprint of your philosophy, built with the materials of your knowledge, and begins the glorious, challenging, and deeply rewarding work of construction. This engine is what allows you to plant your seeds in the spring, even when you would rather rest. It is the force that helps you guard your progress from the weeds of distraction in the long, hot summer. And most importantly, it is the inner strength, the fortified shelter that will protect you and allow you to endure through the harsh and inevitable winters of life. To understand how to best wield this powerful tool, we must first understand the terrain on which we are building. We must understand the nature of those changing seasons. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the subject of our next discussion. We're about halfway through our time together, and we're just getting to the heart of the matter. These principles, philosophy, learning, discipline, are the very cornerstones of a life of substance. If these ideas are resonating with you, if you believe that a life of achievement is built, not stumbled upon, then I would invite you to become a regular part of this community. Take a moment to subscribe to this channel. We are committed to exploring these foundational ideas week after week to help you gather the knowledge you need to set your own sail and navigate toward the destination of your choosing. By subscribing, you are making a small, disciplined choice to invest in your own personal development. Now, let's continue our journey. In our journey together so far, we have laid a powerful foundation. We began with the understanding that you are the architect of your life and that your personal philosophy is the blueprint that determines your ultimate destination. We then discussed how to source the finest materials for that blueprint through a lifelong, unending pursuit of knowledge. And most recently, we ignited the engine of action, the unshakable power of discipline, which translates your design and your materials into the tangible reality of progress. We now have the blueprint. We have the materials. We have the engine. But any great architect will tell you that a perfect plan and the best materials are not enough. You must also understand the terrain on which you build. You must understand the ground, the climate, and the inescapable forces of nature that will affect your construction. You cannot build a skyscraper in a swamp the same way you build it on bedrock. You cannot build in the middle of a hurricane the same way you build on a calm, sunny day. The terrain of life, ladies and gentlemen, has a climate. It has a rhythm. It has a cycle. And this cycle is as predictable and as unchangeable as the one that governs our planet. It is the cycle of the 4 seasons. There is a profound and simple truth I want you to grasp. for it will provide you with a lifetime of perspective. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. This is one of the most liberating ideas you can ever embrace. So many people spend their lives in a state of frustration, fighting against the seasons. They complain about the winter. They are lazy in the spring. They are negligent in the summer, and they are disappointed in the autumn. They are trying to change a law of nature, and they are perpetually defeated. The architect, the achiever, does not waste energy fighting the seasons. They study them. They understand them. They learn to leverage them. They know that what you do in one season determines almost entirely your experience in the next. They understand that success is not about forcing the world to bend to your will, but about intelligently and strategically adapting your activity to the reality of the season you are in. Let us then explore this terrain together. Let us master the strategic application of our philosophy, our knowledge, and our discipline within each of these four inevitable seasons of life. Our journey begins with the most challenging of them all, the mastery of winter. Winter is the season of hardship. It is inevitable. It will come for you. It will come for me. It has come for every great enterprise and every successful individual in human history. The winters of life take many forms. It can be an economic recession that freezes your industry. It can be a personal health crisis that chills your spirit. It can be the loss of a relationship, the failure of a business venture, a period of profound self-doubt and creative barrenness. It is any time when the world outside seems cold, dark, and unforgiving. The great danger of winter is not the cold itself, but the temptation to believe that winter is a permanent condition. It is the temptation to despair. It is the belief that the sun will never shine again, that the ground will never be fertile again. And in this state of despair, the undisciplined mind makes a fatal error. It hibernates. It pulls the blankets over its head and simply waits, hoping for the cold to pass, all the while growing weaker, duller, and less prepared. The architect, however, understands the true purpose of winter. Winter is not the season of external activity. It is the season of internal growth. A master farmer does not curse the snow that blankets his fields. He knows the snow is necessary. While the fields lie dormant, he is in his workshop. He is sharpening his plows, repairing his equipment, studying new farming techniques, and meticulously planning his crops for the spring. He is using the winter to get stronger, smarter, and better prepared. This is the disciplined action required for the winters of your life. When the phone stops ringing, when the sales dry up, when the world outside says no, that is your signal to turn inward. This is the season for your library. This is when you double down on the pursuit of knowledge. Read the books you never had time for. Take the course to learn the new skill. Study the market. Study your competition. Study yourself. Winter is when you strengthen your roots. A tree that does not have deep roots will be toppled by the first winter storm. A person who does not have a deep philosophy and a wealth of knowledge will be broken by the first winter of life. It takes discipline to study when you feel discouraged. It takes discipline to plan when you see no immediate evidence of opportunity. But this is the work that separates the amateur from the master. You use the winter to become a person so valuable, so skilled, and so wise that when the frost finally breaks, you are the first one ready to prosper. And the frost always breaks, for after every winter comes the spring. Spring is the season of opportunity. It is the great thaw. It is the new job offer, the new business idea, the market that suddenly opens up, the renewed sense of energy and purpose after a period of difficulty. Spring is a window of possibility. But here's the crucial thing about spring. It can be brief, and it demands immediate and intense action. The great danger of spring is procrastination. It is the temptation to admire the opportunity instead of acting on it. The undisciplined mind sees the first sunny day and says, "What a beautiful day. I think I'll just enjoy it. I'll start planting tomorrow." They wait for the perfect moment, for all the conditions to be exactly right, for their motivation to be at its peak. They hesitate. And while they hesitate, the precious window of spring begins to close. The architect, the disciplined achiever, understands that spring is the season for furious, focused, and purposeful labor. The moment the ground is workable, they are in the field from dawn until dusk. This is when you apply the ant philosophy of doing all that you possibly can. This is the season for planting seeds. You make the calls. You start the business. You write the first 10 chapters of the book. You start the new health regimen. This is the season where you must have faith in the process over the immediate result. When you are planting seeds, you do not see a harvest. All you see is dirt and effort. It is grueling work, and there is no immediate reward. It takes discipline to sow when you have not yet reaped. It takes a well-developed philosophy to trust that the consistent daily actions of planting will, according to the laws of nature, eventually lead to a result. Do not be the person who is so busy looking for the fruit that they forget to plant the seed. Spring is for the sowers, not the spectators. And if you have been diligent in the spring, your seeds will sprout. This brings us to the long, hot days of summer. Summer is the season of growth and protection. This is a time of great promise. Your efforts from the spring are beginning to show. The business is getting its first customers. The new habits are starting to feel normal. Momentum is building. The sun is shining, and it is tempting to believe the hardest work is over. This is a dangerous illusion. The great danger of summer is complacency. It is the negligence that comes from early success. For summer is not only when your crops grow, it is also when the weeds and the pests arrive. The weeds are all the small negative influences that will try to choke the life out of your progress. They are the bad habits that creep back in. They are the distractions that pull at your focus. They are the cynical friends who say, "Are you still doing that thing? Why are you working so hard?" The discipline of summer is the daily, tedious, and absolutely essential work of pulling these weeds every single day before they can take root. The pests are the unexpected problems and external threats that will attack your budding enterprise. A new competitor, a technical glitch, a criticism from a client. The discipline of summer is to stand guard. It is to nurture and defend what you have planted. It is the daily watering of your new skills. It is the constant reinforcement of your new disciplines. It is the patient, persistent work of solving the small problems before they become big ones. Summer lacks the raw intensity of spring, but it demands a different kind of strength, the strength of consistency. A gardener who does not tend his garden every day in the summer will find it overrun and destroyed in a matter of weeks. An architect who does not carefully inspect the foundation as it settles will soon find cracks in the entire structure. And if you have been wise in the winter, active in the spring, and vigilant in the summer, then inevitably the law of the seasons will bring you to the autumn. Autumn is the harvest. This is the season of results. This is the reward for all your intelligent, disciplined, and consistent effort. It is the profit from your business. It is the promotion at your job. It is the strength and vitality from your healthy habits. It is the fulfillment of your goals. Autumn is a time for celebration, and you must allow yourself to enjoy it, but it is also the season of the ultimate truth. For in the autumn, you must take full and complete personal responsibility for your harvest. If your harvest is bountiful, understand why. It was not luck. It was the result of your activity. And as you enjoy your rewards, the discipline of autumn is twofold. First, you must save some of the finest seeds from your harvest to plant in the next spring. This means documenting your successes and understanding the principles that led to them. Second, you must store a portion of your harvest for the coming winter. The wise person does not consume everything in the autumn of their success. They use the abundance of today to prepare for the scarcity of tomorrow. And what if the harvest is meager? What if, after all your perceived effort, you look at your results and find them wanting? This is the most painful, but perhaps the most valuable feedback life can give. In this moment, the undisciplined mind looks for someone or something to blame. They blame the government. They blame the economy. They blame their boss. They blame the summer sun and the spring rain. They blame the wind. The architect, the person of a sound philosophy, refuses to do this. They look at their meager harvest and say, "This is my harvest. I produced it." They perform a courageous and honest audit of their past seasons. Were they truly active in the spring, or did they procrastinate? Were they truly vigilant in the summer, or did they allow the weeds of distraction to take over? The meager harvest is not a punishment, it is a lesson. And for the architect, that lesson is more valuable than the grain itself, for it contains the wisdom needed to ensure the next harvest is a bountiful one. This is the rhythm of life: winter, spring, summer, autumn, challenge, opportunity, growth, and results. It is a cycle that will repeat itself over and over again in your career, in your finances, in your relationships, and in your personal growth. Understanding this map gives you an incredible strategic advantage. It removes the fear and the surprise from the equation and replaces it with wisdom and purpose. But a map, even a perfect one, is not enough to guarantee a successful journey. A master architect, a truly effective navigator on this terrain, also needs a set of finely tuned instruments in their toolkit. You need a compass to ensure your environment and your associations aren't leading you off course. You need a gauge to accurately measure your progress and make corrections along the way. And you need a diagnostic system to maintain your engine, to ensure the fuel of your ambition isn't being contaminated by the sludge of excuses. In our final session together, we will open that toolbox. We will examine the final practical instruments you need to build a life of lasting achievement. Welcome back. Over the course of our journey together, we have assembled the grand strategy for a well-designed life. We began with the profound realization that you are the architect and your philosophy is the blueprint. We learned how to source the finest materials for that blueprint through the unending pursuit of knowledge. We then fired up the powerful engine of action, the unshakable force of discipline. And in our last discussion, we surveyed the terrain, learning to strategically navigate the inevitable, ever-changing seasons of life. The blueprint is on the table. The materials are stacked and ready. The engine is humming. The map of the terrain is clear. But any master builder, any great architect knows that strategy alone is not enough. To execute the plan, to work with the terrain, to ensure the structure rises straight and true, you need a handful of essential, non-negotiable instruments. You need your toolbox. Many people fail not because their dream is too big, but because their toolbox is too empty. They go to work on the grand project of their life with nothing but their bare hands and good intentions. It is a recipe for frustration and failure. Today, we open the toolbox. We are not going to discuss 100 different gadgets and tricks. We are going to focus on the 3 fundamental instruments that every master builder must use every single day without fail. These are the tools that ensure quality, maintain direction, and keep the entire project from grinding to a halt. These are the tools that separate the amateur from the professional. The first and most influential tool in your entire kit is the one that governs your standards. We will call it the level. This tool is your environment. An architect knows that a structure must be level. If the foundation is off by even a fraction of a degree, the entire building will be compromised. The higher it gets, the more unstable it becomes, until eventually it is guaranteed to collapse under its own weight. Your personal standards, your beliefs about what is possible, your very ambition, these things are governed by the level of your environment. And the most powerful force in that environment is the people with whom you choose to associate. There is a law of human nature as powerful and as invisible as gravity, and it is this: you will, over time, become the combined average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Read that again. Think about it. It is a chilling and an exhilarating truth. You will absorb their attitudes. You will adopt their standards. You will echo their vocabulary. You will begin to earn a similar income. You will share a similar level of health and vitality. It is an unconscious process of social and psychological osmosis. You cannot avoid it. This is why guarding your environment is not a passive activity. It is one of the most active and crucial disciplines you will ever cultivate. If you surround yourself with people who are negative, who complain, who have no ambition, who mock your desire for growth, it is like trying to build a magnificent structure in a swamp. The ground itself is pulling you down. No matter how hard you work, you are constantly fighting the sinking pull of mediocrity. You cannot fly with eagles if you continue to scratch with turkeys. It is simply impossible. So, what is the work of a disciplined architect? It is to consciously manage your associations. This can be broken down into 3 categories. First is the discipline of disassociation. This is the most difficult. It means making the courageous choice to limit, or in some cases, sever your exposure to the truly toxic, negative people in your life This is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of self-preservation. You have a responsibility to protect your own potential, to guard your own mindset. You cannot allow the weeds of someone else's negativity to choke the life out of your garden. Second is the category of limited association. These are the people you might see at work or in your extended family. They may be good people, but they are not on the same journey of growth as you are. With these individuals, you are friendly, you are kind, but you limit your exposure. You do not share your grandest dreams with them. You do not engage in their gossip or their complaints. You spend 30 minutes with them, not 3 hours. And third, and most importantly, is the discipline of expanded association. This is the proactive, deliberate work of seeking out and spending more time with people who challenge you, who inspire you, who hold you to a higher standard. Find people whose library is bigger than yours. Find people whose results are better than yours. Find people who are already where you want to be. This can be intimidating. Your ego might resist it, but this is where the fastest growth occurs. One conversation, one idea from someone who thinks on a higher level than you currently do can change the entire trajectory of your life. And remember, your environment is not just people. It is also the information you consume, the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the content you watch. Is your information diet filled with junk food, gossip, fear, and distraction? Or is it filled with nutritious, powerful ideas that strengthen your philosophy? You are the gatekeeper of your own mind. To be careless about what you allow in is an act of architectural malpractice. The second essential instrument in your toolbox is the one that keeps you honest. We will call it the measuring tape. This tool is your system for measurement. A builder does not guess. A builder measures. They live by the phrase, measure twice, cut once. They know that what gets measured gets managed. What gets measured gets improved. The undisciplined person operates on feelings. They feel like they're working hard. They hope they're making progress. They think they're on the right track. But feelings are the most unreliable guide to progress ever invented. Busyness is not the same as achievement. Motion is not the same as direction. The architect, the professional, does not hope. They know. Because they track the key metrics. They measure. Imagine a captain attempting to sail a ship from Los Angeles to Tokyo. Does he simply point the ship in the general direction of Japan and hope for the best? Of course not. Every single day, he is checking his instruments, his longitude and latitude, his speed, his heading. He knows that a tiny 1-degree error in navigation at the beginning of the journey will result in him being hundreds of miles off course by the end. Your life is that journey. Your goals are your Tokyo, and your daily and weekly habits are your navigation. If you are not measuring, you are drifting. And when you are drifting, the currents of life will take you wherever they please. So, what do you measure? You measure the process. Many people make the mistake of only measuring the outcome. They measure the 10 pounds they want to lose or the $1 million they want to earn. Those are fine as destinations, but you cannot manage a destination. You can only manage the actions that lead you there. Measure your actions. Did you make the 5 sales calls today? Measure it. Did you read for 30 minutes today? Measure it. Did you exercise today? Measure it. Did you write 500 words on your book today? Measure it. This is where your journal becomes an indispensable tool once again. It is not just a treasury for ideas. It is a ledger for your actions and a scoreboard for your results. A weekly review is your navigation check. You sit down for 30 minutes and you look at the unblinking data. Where did I succeed? Where did I fall short? What is the 1-degree correction I need to make this week to get back on course? This simple act of honest, consistent measurement is what turns a vague wish into a structured project. It replaces self-deception with clarity, and it is the only way to ensure that your daily efforts are truly compounding in the right direction. Now for the third and final tool. This is the instrument of maintenance. It is the tool that keeps your engine running clean and powerful. We will call it the fuel purifier. This tool is your commitment to the eradication of excuses. Excuses are the most insidious form of self-sabotage. They are clever. They sound reasonable. They feel true. but they are nothing more than cleverly disguised lies we tell ourselves to justify inaction. An excuse is a story you invent to protect your ego in the short term at the devastating cost of your potential in the long term. Excuses are like contaminated fuel. You can have the most powerful engine in the world, your discipline, but if you pour fuel contaminated with excuses into the tank, the engine will sputter, choke, and eventually seize up completely. Let's dissect the three most common contaminants. The first and most famous is, I don't have time. Let us be honest with ourselves. This is never true. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. The question is not about having time, it is about making time. When you say I don't have time, what you are really saying is, it is not a priority. I challenge you to use that honest language for 1 week. Instead of saying I don't have time to exercise, say, my health is not a priority. See how that feels? The language of priority returns the power to you. It turns you from a victim of a busy schedule into the architect of your own choices. The second contaminant is, it's too hard or I'm too tired. This is an excuse that worships comfort, but we must understand that the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. The architect does not ask, is it easy? The architect asks, is it worth it? And if the answer is yes, then the difficulty is simply the price you have to pay. The discipline of doing the hard things is what builds the muscle that makes even harder things possible. The third and most subtle contaminant is, I don't know how, or I'm not ready yet. This is an excuse rooted in the fear of imperfection, the fear of starting small and looking foolish. But no architect begins by building a skyscraper. They begin by learning how to lay a single perfect brick. The only way to know how is to begin. The only way to be ready is to start. Action is the cure for this fear. The momentum of a small, imperfect start is infinitely more powerful than the stagnation of a perfect plan that never gets executed. The eradication of excuses is a daily discipline. It is the practice of catching these stories, challenging them, and replacing them with the language of responsibility and the action of a single first step. And so, the toolbox is now open. The level of your environment to keep your standards high. The measuring tape of your progress to keep you on course, and the fuel purifier of no excuses to keep your engine of discipline running at full power. With these tools in hand, combined with your blueprint of philosophy, your materials of knowledge, and your understanding of the seasons, the toolkit is complete. The work of the architect is never easy, but it is now straightforward. You have everything you need. We have traveled a great distance together on this journey of ideas. We began with the simple, yet life-altering realization that you are the architect, that your life is not a matter of chance, but a matter of choice and design. We gave you the primary tool of the architect, a philosophy, the set of your sail that determines your destination. We showed you where to find the raw materials in the unending pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. We provided you with the engine of action, the unshakable, day-by-day power of discipline. We gave you the strategic map of the terrain, the wisdom to navigate the inevitable seasons of life. And today, we have opened the final toolbox, giving you the practical instruments to keep your construction true, on course, and moving forward. The plans are in your hands. The tools are at your feet. The power is within you. The question is no longer what can you do, but what will you do? The promise of your future is not found in a lottery ticket. It is not waiting in the hands of a politician or a boss. The promise of your future is found in your daily routine. It's found in the process. Fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the quiet, daily, and often unspectacular work of laying one more brick, of reading one more page, of making one more call, of pulling one more weed, of taking one more measurement. Success isn't something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become, and you become that person through the relentless application of these fundamentals. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. Because when you change, everything around you changes for you. When you get better, everything in your life gets better for you. And if you commit to this process, if you truly embrace your role as the architect, if you work on your philosophy, gather knowledge, live with discipline, navigate the seasons with wisdom, and use your tools with precision, then your success is no longer a question of possibility. It becomes a question of inevitability. It's not a matter of if, it is only a matter of when. Thank you for your time and your attention. Now, go and build something magnificent. We have traveled a great distance together. We began with a simple story of two sailors, a shared wind, and two vastly different destinations. We embarked on this journey seeking the answer to a simple question: what makes the difference? And in our search, we have assembled the complete architectural plans for a life of purpose, a life by design, not by default. We established that the set of your sail, your personal philosophy, is the ultimate rudder that guides your destiny. We learned that this philosophy must be built with the finest materials, sourced from an unending, lifelong pursuit of knowledge. We fired up the great engine of action, the unshakable power of discipline, to translate our blueprint into reality. We learned to navigate the inevitable and challenging terrain of life's four seasons. And finally, we opened the Master Builder's Toolbox, equipping ourselves with the practical instruments of environment measurement and the eradication of excuses. The plans are complete, the knowledge is available, the engine is running, the map is clear, and the tools are in your hands. We have, in essence, answered the question of what to do. But today, in our final moments together, we must address a far more profound question. Who must you become? Because here is the ultimate secret of this entire process. The true reward of building a magnificent life is not the magnificent life itself. It is not the house, the car, the bank account, or the accolades. The true reward is the person you must become to build it. The ultimate prize is the architect. There is a key phrase we have touched upon, but now we must place it at the very center of our understanding. Success is not something you pursue. It is something you attract by the person you become. Let me say that again. Success is not a destination you chase down. It is a reality that you attract. Like a magnet, you draw to yourself the people, the opportunities, and the prosperity that are a direct match for the value you represent. The world pays you not for what you want, but for who you are. This is why the daily process is everything. This is why we must fall in love with the process. Because the process is not just building your future, the process is building you. Consider the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. When you plant the seed, you must water it every single day. For the first year, nothing happens. No visible growth. The second year, you continue to water it. Nothing. The third year, nothing. The fourth year, still nothing. A person of a default philosophy would have given up long ago, declaring the seed a failure. But the person who trusts the process continues to water the ground day after day, and then, sometime in the fifth year, something miraculous happens. The bamboo tree breaks through the ground, and in a period of about 6 weeks, it shoots up to 90 feet tall. Now, let me ask you, did the tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow for 5 years? It grew for 5 years. For 4.5 years, all the growth was invisible. It was happening beneath the surface. It was building a massive, complex, and powerful root system, a foundation capable of supporting the explosive growth that was to come. Without the foundation, the growth would be impossible. Your life works in exactly the same way. The daily, often repetitive, and seemingly unspectacular actions you take are your process of building roots. Every day that you choose to read a book instead of watching television, you are not just gaining information, you are building the root of curiosity and wisdom. You are becoming a learner. Every day that you choose to do the difficult task first, to honor a commitment to yourself even when you are tired, you are not just being productive, you are building the root of integrity and self-respect. You are becoming a person of your word. Every time you navigate a winter of your life with study and planning instead of despair, you are not just surviving, you are building the root of resilience. You are becoming unshakable. Every time you choose to audit your associations, to measure your progress honestly, to reject an excuse and take action instead, you are not just being effective, you are building the root of consciousness and responsibility. You are becoming the cause of your own effects. Do you see? The process is a character factory. It is an alchemy that turns effort into excellence and action into identity. You do not get what you want, you get who you are, and the process is what determines who you are. And as you become this person of value, of integrity, of wisdom, of resilience, something magical begins to happen. You begin to understand the law of the marketplace and the law of life. The law is simple. We are paid for bringing value to the marketplace. The world does not pay you for your need. It pays you for your value. If you want to increase your reward, you must first increase your value. The entire architecture we have discussed is a system for becoming a person of immense value. You work harder on yourself than you do on your job. You invest in your own growth, knowing that you yourself are your greatest asset. And as your value increases, the attraction of success becomes an inevitable force. You don't have to chase opportunities. Opportunities begin to find you. You become a beacon, a lighthouse, and the ships of opportunity see your light from a great distance and steer towards your shore. But the impact of this process, the legacy of the architect, extends far beyond your own personal success. A well-designed life creates a powerful ripple effect that touches everything and everyone around you. The first ripple is the influence you have on yourself. You build a life you are proud of. You wake up with a sense of purpose and go to bed with a sense of satisfaction. You replace the dull ache of regret with the quiet, powerful hum of self-respect. This is the first and most important victory. The second ripple is the influence you have on your family and your loved ones. They hear what you say, but they believe what you do. Your children will learn more about discipline, resilience, and the love of learning from your example than from 1,000 lectures. When you become the architect of your own life, you give them the silent permission and the living blueprint to do the same for themselves. You are creating a legacy of strength that will echo for generations. The third ripple is the influence you have on the marketplace. As a person of increasing value, you are better able to serve. You solve bigger problems. You become a leader, a mentor, an indispensable part of your community or your company. Your success is not a zero-sum game. It creates opportunities and value for others. A rising tide lifts all boats. And the fourth ripple is the most profound. It is the influence you have on people you may never even meet. Consider the story of the candle maker. In a village shrouded in darkness, one person could spend their life cursing the darkness. Another could stumble around hoping to find a path. But one individual decides to undertake the difficult, disciplined craft of making a single, excellent candle. It requires learning, patience, and effort. But when that one candle is finally lit, it does more than just illuminate the candle maker's own home. Its light provides a beacon for a lost traveler. It provides the flame from which a neighbor can light their own candle. The goal was not to single-handedly light up the entire world. The goal was to so master the process of making one candle that its light became an inevitable and generous byproduct. Your life is that candle. Stop cursing the darkness. Stop worrying about the vastness of the world's problems. Master the process of your own life. Become a person of such value, such integrity, and such wisdom that your light becomes a natural and effortless gift to the world. And so, we come back to the beginning, to the two sailors, and to the two paths that are laid before each of us every single morning. The path of drift and the path of design. The path of the easy excuse and the path of the difficult discipline. The path of letting your sail flap in the wind and the path of setting it with purpose towards a worthy destination. The process we have outlined is not a theory. It is a law. It is the law of sowing and reaping. It is as real and as predictable as the law of gravity. If you plant the seed of knowledge, you will reap the harvest of understanding. If you plant the seed of discipline, you will reap the harvest of results. If you plant the seed of consistent effort, you will reap the harvest of success. The result is not a possibility. It is a promise. It is an inevitability. And that is the architect's ultimate promise. That is why we do not wish for things to be easier. We wish for ourselves to be better. We do not wish for fewer problems. We wish for more skills. We do not wish for less challenge. We wish for more wisdom. because you have the power to become better. You have the ability to acquire the skills. You have the capacity to gain the wisdom. The blueprint is in your hands. The materials are all around you. The engine is within you. The map is clear and the tools are at your feet. The question is no longer what is possible. The only remaining question is what you will choose to build. Thank you. Now, go and build something that will last. Thank you for investing your most valuable asset with us today, your time. The journey of the architect is a lifelong one, and this discussion is just the beginning. To continue exploring the profound principles of a life well lived, and to ensure you have access to future lectures like this, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let this be a place you return to whenever you need to refine your blueprint. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next step of the journey.